welcome to the fan episode. This is the episode where we talk about what the fans think. I think we should start with, because we had a lot of comments on, and because it's so exciting for me, we had a lot of comments on all the different social media outlets about our nomination for the podcast awards.
Oh, nice.
So yes, so many people are like, that's so awesome on Facebook, and then congratulations, that's awesome, congratulations, ladies. A mother said, so proud of you, ladies. We also have
thanks, moms.
Yeah, anyway, and Twitter too, people were like, did like emojis, like claps and hearts and stuff like that. So yeah, that was amazing. Like, even though we didn't win, like when I watched it, I don't know if you guys watched it too, when I watched it, like people like Brene Brown and stuff won podcast awards. I know, I was like, oh my God, like this is serious.
It's the big time.
I like the big time. My mind, I changed it into, well, clearly now we are also famous and are celebrities. I was like, oh my God.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
We are celebs now.
And then who won in our category, Sarah?
Yeah, who won?
Dad's drinking bourbon.
Oh,
that sounds like fun.
All
All
right.
right.
To tune into this. Yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
Well,
Sounds
congratulations, Dad's drinking bourbon.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was such a great experience.
How did the nominations work? Was like, how were we put forward?
He mentions it in the beginning, the guy who owns or started the podcast awards, and he was saying they're the only awards that are only through listener nominations. So a listener.
That's even better.
I know.
We don't know.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
it
thing, we
wasn't
don't
our
know.
mother that nominated.
Yeah, was it your mom, guys?
I don't think
My
she would
mom.
know
That
how.
same mom that commented, congratulations, you're welcome.
But yeah, so that was pretty exciting.
Actually, I think you started this whole thing, Sarah, because you had exciting news about a certain follower that's following. I think we all know. Or were you not going to announce that shit?
I think that's a Kara announcement.
That's a Kara?
Oh yeah, Kara,
Who's,
you guys
who's friending us?
Oh,
Who's friending
yeah,
Kara?
Are we there? Are we jumping into
Yeah,
this?
go. Yeah,
Get
go.
there.
Wait.
I'm like so excited
Go.
about it.
So
Me too.
basically, we're now besties with Jesse Thistle. No, I'm just kidding. I
Kara
wish.
always jumps to the bestie. She always jumps to
I
the
do.
bestie.
I honestly do. It just, I think, made me super excited, clearly, that, well, actually, for the past couple weeks. So during the Truth and Reconciliation Week, I did a number of social media posts just basically highlighting From the Ashes by Jesse Thistle. And then that led to just this past week, doing a post just kind of highlighting Jesse Thistle again, because of course we're still within the From the Ashes book cycle, and just highlighting that he has an event with Dr. Gabor Mate with the Wisdom of Trauma event. And Lucy and Jesse noticed the post and I couldn't believe it. So at first I just saw that they liked the post, and then I noticed that I had like a following like request and a private message. I was like, could it be? And it was just super fantastic and wonderful that two incredible human beings took time out of their day to give a like. I know we're not supposed to focus on the likes here, folks, but I gotta tell ya, it boosted my ego tremendously. And I
Your
just felt
dopamine
so-
dropped all over the place.
I did. And it was just that Lucy and Jesse would even take time out of their very busy days to even tune into the podcast. And not only did they take time to share that when I wasn't even soliciting for that type of information, but for them to also say that, well, Jesse was saying that, and we've got it bang on. So for him to give that feedback, to give us a like, send some encouragement, I think I can speak on behalf of all of us how much that meant to us. I mean, his book certainly changed our lives. It impacted it greatly.
Yeah.
And then he apologized that he didn't join us on our podcast. I was like, what are you doing? So I hope you all
There's
don't
still
mind.
time.
I respond, there's still time.
He's always
Jesse.
welcome.
Just assumed that we would be on the same page on this matter, and I kind of gave a collective response of being like, there is always time in the future. There is no need to apologize. In fact, we are very just really supportive of him honoring the commitment that he made to himself, to his family, and his community, that he finishes this dissertation. So no problems there. It was great.
Yeah, whenever he wants to. It's book interrupted after all.
Please interrupt us.
Interrupt us.
We
Yeah.
love interruptions.
That's so awesome.
Does that make you happy, Kim?
That makes me.
It's your book choice, right?
Ecstatic. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, do you think that that is awesome? Do you think Oprah's gonna join us for
Yeah,
my next
Oprah's
book
probably gonna
because I'm
come.
pretty sure she will, right?
Yeah.
For your
Oprah,
book
please
choice.
come on our
Pretty cool.
podcast. That would be pretty cool.
It would be. Oh,
Oprah and
that-
Dr. Perry.
Kara, are you gonna ask
They're
her?
they're actually in the hall.
How could I not,
bring him in?
Meredith? How could I not?
Might as well ask. You never know. All these busy
it's
people.
So funny.
Well, you ask. Yeah, that's what I did with Kirsten.
I mean,
in Just
that's
Seeing
true.
Red.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
she came
they've
on. I was
done
like,
that.
"What do you think? Do you want to come?" And she did. So started reading that book, Kara's book, just quickly.
Yeah.
And the doctor says he got a phone call, and the whatever said, "Oh, a Harpo or Oprah's on the phone," and he's like, "Yeah, right. Shut up. Go away." Kind of
Yeah,
thing. And it took like a couple calls before he's like,
Very
"Oh,
funny.
really? Oprah's on the phone? Oh, I
Yeah.
better pick up."
Isn't Kara's book the stress book?
Yes, this one's
Oh, no,
Leah's
Leah's
book. The
book.
Oprah book
Leah's.
is
Oh,
yeah, the
sorry,
Oprah book is
Leah's
Leah's book.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Leah.
I do like to secretly think of this book as my book, though.
I did a personal journal and I made the same mistake too, and then I corrected myself. I was like, I think it's
Yeah.
Kara's book.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait. Yeah.
Sorry, Leah, you weren't on. Leah.
Yeah,
You
it's
weren't
so
enough on
good,
brand
Leah.
this time, Leah.
I know.
On the Leah
I'm really
brand.
diving deep these days, guys.
I know what happened.
I don't know. As soon as I got comfortable with feelings, now it's like I want to feel all the feelings, understand all the feelings. We can talk about them even.
Whoa. Crazy.
I know. Therapy I'm a changed woman. I'm an
Wait a minute.
open book.
I'm just noticing something. Are you
Wow.
wearing a Book Interrupted t-shirt?
I am. This was our.
Hello?
Oh yeah. Okay, so this is a failed attempt, but
Oh,
we wanted to try out how this particular company's like what the fabric was like. We don't love like this
block,
is
the
phase
black
one.
block.
Phase two, early designs are coming, and hopefully at least one final product Sarah and I are going to fine tune for the end of this month.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we're
exciting.
doing white fragility shirts
First.
first, so we can send, I think, a thank you gift to our first guest,
Squig,
Fan?
Squigmeister,
The
Squigorama.
the Squiggle
Hashtag squig
And then-
bangs.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was so funny.
I wonder how many of those he'll love or hate.
You'll like all of them.
Yeah, he's pretty.
No,
funny.
you
so
should
scary
hear
of
the
him.
design
Very
idea that
friendly.
Leah came up with.
So
good.
Sarah and I are kind of working on a little, so we can all have shirts and stuff too.
Speaking of
That's my
fans,
speed.
we do
Yes.
have fan books next season. So we are looking for fans to join our podcast for those sessions. I already have somebody who has approached
Ooh.
me. We can talk about it personally, but just a little teaser who
Ooh.
is a very interesting young man who I work with, who knows about our podcast and who is really well read. And he has a few books that he'd like to pitch to us to see if he could possibly be a
Ooh,
fan on our
that's
fan
great.
bit. So
I like
said,
the
okay.
enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and send
No,
them
let's
to...
bring him on to Zoom and get him to convince us.
Yes.
Oh,
no
no.
pressure. He would love that.
God.
Very
We're trying to
charming.
entice fans, not scare them
Teasing,
away.
I'm teasing.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It's not Shark Tank.
I know. But that's what my brain went to. I was like, that'd be fun.
If other fans want to, and Lindsay, you can tell him to go to www.bookinterrupted.com/fans, and there's all that, and
Okay.
you can fill out an online form even, being like, and the dates that we're recording is on there and everything.
Okay, great.
those
I will.
episodes, yeah,
I
yeah.
will send him over, and maybe we can talk about him being a fan. And everybody else, please, pitch your ideas because we'd love to have you on.
Right, heads up,
Yeah.
fans. There's only one slot left. It looks like.
Book interrupted.
I have a sad interruption. We were interrupted on a dog walk this morning by a very sad, struggling little baby squirrel. No, no, no. We tried our best to make a little home before we could take him to the shelter. His brothers and sisters were in parts. I think maybe Raccoon maybe got them, I'm not sure. Anyways, he didn't make it. We had a nice morning. Poor little baby. Yep. Now we're gonna go bury him. Anyways, that's my sad interruption. Oh.
Book interrupted.
Ben, so you know how we do all those audiograms with quotes from the show and we post them all over the place? The quote was from episode 1, and Kim was saying most Indigenous cultures are informed by the acknowledgement that everything is interconnected. It's often conceptualized as a giant web. There is no thing that doesn't somehow create reaction or effect for everything and everyone around me. And a fan commented on that. Great book, many tough moments to read, and it's so deeply moving, this book. And they commented on what Kim had put there. And I mean, I think we all could agree. Like, I've already, just even preparing today, I was just trying to look for something in the book, and then I just started reading it again. Such a great book.
I am rereading it.
Good.
You are, Mare?
I am rereading it. I mean, partially because I find it helps when I'm writing the blog to revisit, and I do that with a lot of the books. I'll read sections just to make sure that I'm on the, see what I want to talk about.
Your blog post about the want, about how using the word want and how it creates wanting, and that our Canadian society is very consumer and what I want and want, and you're always constantly feeding this want. I watched Jesse on that Wisdom of Trauma, they actually quoted Buffy St. Marie, who I love Buffy St. Marie, and they quoted something her, and it made me think, every time I go to Canada, there's something, it's hard for me to verbalize the differences in the culture, because a lot of it's just between where I live now and Canada, because it's just a feeling. But when I was there, what she's saying here and what you were saying about want is something I was saying to my mother, because she's going to come visit, that one of the things I love about where I live is that you can't really buy anything. There's nothing really here to buy. You can go to the market, buy food and stuff, but there's not a grocery store that's every aisle bounding with stuff. Anyway, so Buffy St. Marie wrote, I wrote this down after I listened to it. The whites carry the greed disease. They need to be cured, but they usually don't mind their disease or recognize it because it's all they know, and their leaders encourage it in them. Many of them are beyond help. And I just, I would say I still have the disease because I go to Canada and I'm oh, I have to purchase all these things before I go back. But then coming back here, it's such a,
it's a relief not to want to fill the whole I need that thing to make me feel happy, and the whole idea of giving out instead, finding fulfillment by giving and having responsibility and assuming you already have. That's you can only give if you have an abundance in a way, right? So if you are raised wanting to give, and that's part of what Kim said in which episode 1, I think, that it's that an Indigenous worldview is more you have a responsibility
then you have rights.
Rather than you have rights. And I'm not against rights. I'm all for rights and stuff, but it's assuming that you receive just because you live, rather than assuming you give just because you live. Just because you're here, you give instead. I like that too. But yeah, the greed disease, that's interesting.
I definitely, when I was in Newfoundland, I got there and it was because I live in Toronto, where literally everything is within. And if I wanted to order something online, it shows up the next day. So it's it's so easy to consume there. And I was in Newfoundland, and if you wanted to get something shipped there, it takes a couple weeks probably at least. So then I was I had withdrawal. I was oh my God, how am I supposed to, I need something, where am I supposed to get it? I couldn't order. And I was okay, I need slippers. And I actually called all the local stores and was do you have slippers? My slippers have broken, and talked to somebody because I was in quarantine at the time, and had a guy come and drop them off because my feet were so cold, which was really nice.
Slippers. Yeah.
Still, I was oh my God, I don't know how to handle this, that I can't get everything and consume all the time. So it took a while for me to be oh, I actually don't need that. I don't need all those extra things. But that was hard, definitely. So I fully have that greed disease.
After
or
you
whatever.
got there, Lindsay, like, I mean, there, like metaphorically, and it took you a while to get used to it. Did you also experience a feeling of relief?
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, it's definitely a relief to not feel the need to consume all the time, but it's always a struggle. I think if you're living in a city center with things at your fingertips, it's hard all the time to not, because I'm just used to that.
Back on what I was going to say before about the experience of From the Ashes, in the rereading of it, and like to touch on what Meredith and Kara were both saying, it's like, and I wonder, I mean, I guess this would be for me what makes a good book or a good story or whatever. It's like more than cerebral. You know what I mean? Like you consume it maybe on first pass, like cerebrally, and you take it in and you comprehend, right? And then the longer that you think about it, or the more times you read it, I don't know if it's messaging or whatever, like I don't know what the word would be to describe like the soul of the book, but that soul of the book seeps deeper and deeper into you. So it's like, I think that's why, like this is why I would explain why I have such a hard time verbalizing my experience of the book, because it's more than my head that I understood that book with. It's like my body and my heart and my soul, and the more that I read it, and it's I don't know if viscerally is the right word, like it affects me wholly, like entirely, not just in my logic brain. It affects my whole entire existence, and that's what makes it so brilliant, I guess, is like a gift that keeps on giving or whatever. It's just such an experience that it's funny because I want to like
to your deep inner knowing.
It's like going
exactly.
from
You know what I mean? It's a direct,
conscience.
and in that respect, it From the Ashes, in my mind, is a true piece of art. It is not just a book. It is art. Like that's what it does. It pulls out, like Sarah and I had a Marco Polo with each other, just kind of on like the similar topic of like when things go to your insides and you're like, is it your feelings? Is it your senses of something? Like, it's like you get it. Is it through symbols? You don't know, but it certainly isn't in like the English language necessarily.
Right. And that's what I think is so ironic, because I want to sing its praises and yet I cannot find words to do so. I need to be like, I wish I could express it. Maybe I should try expressing it in dance. Or so, you know what I mean? Some other nonverbal right now.
It's Kim, what you're saying is interesting, because I'm reading or listening to this book called The Master and His Emissary, and it's all about like left brain, right brain, and like whereas left brain is like about syntax and like language and stuff, and like so like you can't explain your right brain stuff with words effectively because you just can't, because it's more about things like music and dance and stuff. So maybe that would work, and like most of your emotions are primarily or activate your right side rather than your left. So it's like coming from your conscience into your unconscious. That's what the book is doing, where it's like goes from like the words into feeling. Maybe you could do a little song. I like the idea of you doing a dance.
I feel like the right side of my head should be like visibly bigger. Like I'm full from the book. Bigger. Like I should have a lopsided brain now, because like it was just so filling in so many ways, I guess, is the...
For me, it kind of manifests in, especially when I'm in Toronto, I'm talking about the financial district and seeing people who are homeless all the time in Toronto. And I actually have like a feeling when I see them, because I think of this book and I think of his experience and all of those, like not even thinking, like I feel all what I read from the book. And then I feel that and I see them and I think, I don't know, but I agree. It's not like a thought. It's like all of a sudden, all that comes to me at the same time when I see somebody who's homeless and think of where they might have been.
I see homeless people since the book all the time. I don't know if I'm supposed to use that word. If we're supposed to use
experiencing
homelessness.
People experiencing homelessness. Sorry, I said that wrong. But I just feel that I've had the same exact, I think, experience that you're describing, Lindsay, where it's like I'm really like more curious not just like empathetic, but curious about their experience. And
so as we move forward in the world, like those stories are now part of us and have changed us.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
One of the other things in that panel, one of the other panelists said in his language as Lakota, you can't speak it without intuition. And I feel like the language of Lakota is spoken with intuition. And he was saying, because this particular panelist is all about languages, and he said many of the things in his language, there are no words in English, and vice versa. Jesse doesn't speak Lakota, but you know what I mean? Maybe it has something in there that makes you, because of his traditions.
It's like the purpose of Indigenous storytelling is exactly what I feel like we're kind of describing here, not being Indigenous and not having that experience in our upbringing or our teaching or whatever. But like, that's one of the things that, like, the way that we describe this experience of this book is kind of how one might teach you about what storytelling means in Indigenous cultures, right? And back to your point on language, Sarah, I'm going to forgive me ahead of time because I'm not going to do what I'm about to tell you all justice, but I still, like, it resonated with me. And I can't remember where I learned it, if it was in that U of Alberta free Indigenous studies course or whatever, but an Indigenous person was explaining some of their language. And so they were, telling them the word for good morning or wake up or whatever it was. And within like their one word, it wasn't like in English where you say like, hello, that's a greeting, the end. In their language, it was like, this means we greet the day. We're grateful that the sun has risen again. We are full, because like it was just layer after layer after layer of meaning. Like it captured so much. This is why the loss of language is such a major issue and an urgent thing to stop, because it holds so much of their culture in it. And I didn't understand that until I saw that particular clip with that teacher just explaining how, okay, this is our word for this and this is what it means. And it's just so like wholesome, not in the word, like not in the sense of like good, but wholesome is in encapsulating like this whole concept, not just a word and a definition. So
it's a word, it's an interpretation of a much larger concept.
Yes, every single word, right? Mm-hmm. And so everything is a lesson, right? When you speak that, you're being reminded to walk gratefully because you've been allowed to wake up again, and Mother Earth has, provided you with everything you need, and that
you're connected and you're part of it. And yes. So like, and that's what we need more of, especially with like the climate crisis. If everybody had that, we'd be able to like come together and work together instead of, say, well, save yourself and your family first, like there's a little bit of that mentality, every person for themselves type thing. And we got to get away from that.
Yeah. And a little bit is a bit of an understatement.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
Book Interrupted.
Never forget, every child matters.